Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Paranormal Cryptid Rabbit Holes. Let's see here. Catherine, hello there. Lady Wolf, hello, what's going on? Godhead testifies. Pamela, there's Laurel Rollins. How you doing? Brenda, hello, everybody. Tonight's subject. Let me switch myself around. Look funny looking at myself sideways. There we go. Tonight's subject, land between the lakes. Everybody's always talking about that. LBL. Interesting. A lot of people go down there and still investigate, still hunt the Dogman. So, yeah, there's some history about the place down there. Very interesting. So, I did a little slide presentation for the people that don't know anything about land between the lakes. And it says here, it's one of the most widely known Dogman cases that remains unsolved. Throughout the years, there has been talk of hauntings, Native American curses, mysterious lights over gravestones at night, and several tales of werewolf-like creatures that stand on two legs around the land between the lakes. We also hear this, and this is a picture of what it looks like and what people go down there. This is between the two states of Kentucky and Tennessee. It is a park. But what's weird about the park is that they don't take care of certain sections of the park. Now, there is a story behind what happened in the early 80s about the campers and his family. You go down there and ask around and poke around like a lot of people do. A lot of people don't want nothing to do with nothing about it. But the police actually were called to the crime scene, and once the police got there, it was totally different. It was strange because it wasn't what somebody said happened. They were talking about a creature that looked like a man, but part wolf, but it looked like a dog. It had fur. See, the police thought they were en route to a murder scene. But the eyewitnesses down there were trying to explain to it because they didn't know what it was. Some of them were trying to resemble tell the law enforcement that it looked like Bigfoot, but with wolfish characteristics. And it's probably about, I don't know, 7 to 8, 9 feet tall. So now, if you go across the internet and the bloggers, it says there, it talks about the murders with the LBL and the animal disappearances and other paranormal activities. And the U.S. Forest Service Public Affairs Specialist, Mr. Lewis, have never seen any credible evidence of the beast's existence. They went on record and said that. But wait a minute. We had eyewitness testimony that told the law enforcement about what they saw. So what happened was, one night at the campground, a family was camping, and something made its way into the campgrounds. And it made its way inside the camper and slaughtered the family. We're not talking gunshots. We're not talking stab wounds. We're talking shred. We're talking like wolves, packs of dogs, however you want to try to classify it, describe it. The problem is that some of the children, or one of the children, they couldn't find. So they followed the blood trail into the woods right there behind the campground where they line up. They're actually campsites, but they're numbered 001, 002, and so forth. And when they followed the blood trail, they found the kid's body. But ladies and gentlemen, the body was not on the ground. It was up in a tree, lodged 18 to 23 feet up in the air in a tree. Right. It was the little girl. That is correct. So, okay. Hello, Thomas. Welcome. Now that freaked the place out because now they have stuff that's they cannot. Okay. We're getting stories. First, we got a story that it was a murder. Well, there was a murder. It was a massacre. You know, we got people down here at the campsites that heard the screaming, that heard the animal noises, the terror, what was going on. They saw the creature, allegedly. I will say allegedly. They tried to inform law enforcement as more arrived because they were like, what in the hell does JoJo got himself into down there? Other people showed up to try to figure out what's going on because, you know, now we're talking about supernatural creatures. You know, I mean, they're being told Bigfoot, but wolf-like. So it's very questionable. The DNA they actually recovered was in part of one of the father's hands. Yes, the man's fist indicated that it was an unknown canine species. Now, I went back, and it's interesting because there has been so much cover up about this incident between LBL, the land between the lakes. Mr. Thomas knows. You do have to talk to the old timers, but the old timers really don't want to talk to a bunch of people about it. And it's actually happened since then, back in the early 1990s. There's been documentation of a hunter. Now, can you imagine that? Being that law enforcement officer, I could not imagine being the first one on scene and trying to figure out what's going on and seeing the bodies and following the blood. So there has been a lot of encounters down there. A lot of people has covered this. A lot of people in the cryptid world's covered this topic. A little Standing Stones, a little Tammy Johnson, Crazy Witch. How's everybody doing? But that's what's strange. Now, there are cemeteries down there where people go to investigate the paranormal, the ghost realm, and so forth. And they don't go back, they leave. They will tell you there is stuff in that woods that does exist that should not exist. They cannot explain it. They see things down there that they do not understand what they are seeing because they're not into the Bigfoot or the Dogman realm. Now, where this sign actually happened, if you go down there and to investigate, is now been removed and covered up. But why is it in certain parts of this park is it not being upkept? Why is it being closed off? Why are people not being allowed to go there? Why are people allowed not to hike? No, Lady Wolf. There was a family that witnessed it and other campers. Because when the police showed up, they were trying to explain what they saw because they didn't know. They didn't know what a dogman was. The best way they described it was like a Bigfoot creature, but with pointed ears and a snout, and it was just weird. Nickel Cemetery, really famous for paranormal investigators to go to, the ghost hunt. Very ancient. Well, not real ancient, but it's old. It's got some history there. It really does. But there are people that go down there and they'll tell you they hear things that does not add up. Now, usually when you go to a place, it's full and abundant of wildlife. Parks are full of deer, rabbit. I mean, we're talking between the lakes, LBL, Kentucky and Tennessee. But when you have people that tell you that when they go out there during the day and they don't see any type of wildlife, that makes you wonder. Now, I know that can be a conspiracy theory and so forth. Don't get me wrong. But it's just, like I said, when that family was massacred, the whole town didn't know what to do. They started having reported sightings across the town of this creature. And don't forget, this is a park. This is where they make money. They got gift shops. This is a park where people go fishing, swimming, camping, hiking, you name it. So, what we're going to do? A lot of people start going down there that were into the cryptozoology field and was trying to figure out what was going on. And people were openly discussing it back then. And it's right, Thomas, is cover up because of the tourist industry. So we actually have people that want us down there and still goes down there and to investigate. And they try to talk to the Park Service people. Oh, don't do that. They don't want nothing to do with you. They run from you. They won't even discuss it with you. And look how long ago that's been. And there's been other reportings that I found during looking at some of these articles. They go back to 1993. Then you look at the people that are actually involved in dogman hunting or investigating Bigfoot. They go down there and they come back and they're like, there is still activity down there of something going on. Why does part of a national tourist attraction quit taking care of certain areas of a park and block it off? It's not because of funding. Why are they keeping people out? Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've all seen murder scenes in people that have been unfortunately killed on TV. But you don't find bodies up in trees. Well, we don't have big cats. We don't have cats. Well, we got bobcats. We don't have mountain lions. We don't have none of that stuff here. Thomas, you've been in places in El Viala people don't go to? Yeah. That's exactly why, Thomas. You said it before I can get to the punchline. Maybe if we block it off and keep a distance from that, from us, maybe they won't get close. They know they're there. There's no reason. Parks expand. They maintain hiking trails, biking trails. But when you go down there and where you used to get water and use the bathroom facilities and it's all boarded up and do not enter, under construction for years, stay out. Yeah, see, stuff like this doesn't add up. Now, I actually interviewed a lot of people that's been down there recently in the past year, 2 years, and done investigations. We actually had them on the show before. Thomas, you're brave, 'cause I wouldn't even go down there myself. A lot of people do, and then come back and they're shaken up. Now, I've never seen a Dogman. I know people that have come across them. I know people that have come face to face with them. And when they go out and investigate, they're a very well organized team. That's something that you would see off a TV series. And I'm telling you, they are, how could I say this? Very well prepared to deal with things on this realm and on the other realm of paranormal or cryptid related. Yes, Hellbent Holler had boats on the ground a few times. Laurel, we have mountain lions because they're not native to Tennessee. Yeah, they're not native to Tennessee, yes. But we don't. Not down there in there. Thomas, you'd love going with me to investigate. I'm one of those fools that carries too much in the backpack, and we'll leave it at that. But Laurel, they haven't gotten trail cam footage of the mountain lions and say we still don't have them because they don't want to acknowledge that things exist, because if they do, they have to protect it. Now, how can you tell somebody, Hellbent Holler, been barges on the ground? Yes. And you talk about an investigative team, they're down there all the time. They are. Good set of investigators. Had them on the show not too long ago. And they'll tell you some of the stuff they come across of and hear and heard. Yes. It's wild. They are covering stuff up to this day. Now, we had a couple of people that were supposed to show up for the show. One's going to be running a little bit late. But you go down there and you talk to people around that town, they'll tell you it was a father that went mad, that killed his family and committed suicide. That's what the actual documented, recorded incident that they put down is what happened. But others says nothing happened. Well, if nothing happened, then why did the police show up? Why did the eyewitness show up? Some of the people that actually were down there camping even spoke from other states after it happened, that came forward and said, we don't know what happened. There's a creature involved. We are not going back. It's crazy. The law enforcement had no idea. They were dumbfounded. We packed our bags and we left. So the campsite is overgrown. It's not maintained where it happened. I don't know. I think they put something in its place, or blacktop or gravel pit, or I have to go back and look at the photographs I've got, but it's very interesting. Seen a cougar in the LBL. That's interesting. But there's other things down there that people go to investigate when it comes to Dogmen at the LBL. And they come out and they're like, there's more than what people know down here. I don't know if there's a portal, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if it's just a breeding ground. Laurel in the mountains of East Tennessee, it's the Appalachian Mountains, yes. Standing Stones, Thomas in Kentucky. Actually, I'll show you a picture here again of what Land Between the Lakes look like. That's a pretty good shot of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Nick. Welcome, Nick. How you doing?
Hey, Chris. I'm doing really good. How about you today?
Wonderful. Let's play some Hollywood squares here, and let's get you up here. Introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Well, let's see. I'm Nick Valente. I'm the founder of the International Dogman Project USA, also International Dogman Project Nordic countries, and we also have a Southeast, Southwest, Northeast, Northwest, and a lot of state chapters within the United States. Also run the Quad Coalition of Sciences. That's where we talk about the paranormal, cryptids, zoology, regular science, and basically anything else out there that's unusual. UFOology also. So there's a couple of things we do. Mostly I'm boots on the ground. Try to do as much research as I can, but mostly boots on the ground, Chris.
Yeah, so you don't believe what we're covering tonight.
What's going on?
Land Between the Lakes.
Kentucky and Tennessee, LBL.
Yeah, so I covered some of it. Why don't you explain, since you are the top-notch dog down there, and explain to them what you experienced going down there and trying to mingle and, yeah.
Well, the Tennessee side of LBL and the Kentucky side of LBL are two totally different animals as far as I'm concerned. Most recently, going back about a year ago, D.A. Roberts and I did a search of LBL Kentucky. And as soon as we crossed the bridge to go onto the Land Between the Lakes ground, we felt like there was a presence there. Because first of all, you've got an overhead canopy of trees in August anyway. That's when we went there in August. And it's like it just encases everything in there and it's pressing down on you. We got the feeling that it didn't want us there. It was just an ominous feeling. We went there during the daytime. We went there late at night, like 1:30 in the morning. We transversed all of the different roads that we found over there. We got out at the Nichols Cemetery, where there had been several Dogman sightings. And when we got out, first thing that happened was we got attacked by like a zillion insects, flying insects. I remedied that by spraying us with some special stuff that I had in the car. I wasn't even thinking about them at that time of the night, because what hit us when we stepped out of the vehicle was the absolute silence. I mean, there was nothing. There was no birds. There's no frogs, no deer, nothing scampering around at all. But we kept getting that ominous feeling. Yeah, and yes, I agree with that. You're one person that just posted that bad energy that was flying all over the place there. It was just like it didn't want us to be there. So I broke out I had a 6 million candle power light, a hand light, and I hid it out there, and we're looking at the Nichols Cemetery, and we see off to, if we're facing 12 o'clock, we see off to our 2:00 something about 50 feet away from us in the brush. And that's all you had over there, Chris. I mean, trees, brush, bugs, that's about it. And there was something there. There was something there about 50 feet away from us, off to our, like I said, 2:00. When I shined my light, it took off and went towards our 10:00. And I'm going to tell you, it moved from, it must have been about 150, 175 feet. It did all that in like 3-4 seconds. Because the next thing I know, I have DA saying something's moving over there, which was at our 10:00. I hit the light out there and I didn't see anything, but we did hear breathing, heavy chest breathing. So it's like, what the heck is going on in this place? We didn't run. We didn't go anyplace. We were armed. We were ready. I had made sure I gave him some bear spray as soon as we got out of the car and dealt with the bugs. But there was nothing there. I really searched it with the spotlight, and I'm telling you, 6 million candle power spotlight, handheld. You're gonna see what's over there, Chris. It's so dark over there though, and so foreboding. That most people are not going to want to walk around there at nighttime. And I always tell people the best time to go out there, boots on the ground, is nighttime. After all, what happens at night? Your nocturnal animals, they're going to be out there searching for food. And
right.
your cryptids, they're going to be out there searching for food too. But that was an amazing incident that happened there. A few days later, we had gone back during the daytime and the nighttime, daytime, nighttime. We went back for the last day, and I got to get back to what we did at the Welcome Center. I want to call it the Unwelcome Center, but I'll get back to that. The last day, we were driving through the different areas over there and walking around certain areas. We didn't find too much. And once again, I just found it odd. Chris, it's like super odd that there's no squirrels, no deer, no birds. Birds, come on, you gotta have birds, right? Rabbits. Right. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not even a lousy black bear or something walking around in the woods. Nothing out there. So on our way out, we're taking the main road to go over the bridge to go out. And DA yells to me, goes, stop. Hit the brakes, goes, back up. I had seen something out of the corner of my eye, but I wasn't really thinking, that it was a Dogman or anything. But this thing was kind of big, and it was standing near a tree. I'm backing up, and he's got his face full on at it. I back up, we both jump out of the vehicle, and he looks at me, I look at him, and he goes, it's gone. So we went to the edge of the roadway, and mind you, this is the main roadway. We went to the edge of the roadway, and we're looking, and it slopes downwards, like maybe a 45-degree angle, and it had about a foot's worth of leaves. I guess they don't collect the leaves over there. They just, brush them off the roadway. And he looks at me, I'm looking at him. He goes, what are we doing? I mean, what are we going to do? Grab this thing? He goes, I saw a Dogman either side of the road. I said, I saw something out of my peripheral. It was tall and it was dark. I didn't get a good shot because I was driving. And it's like, well, what are we going to do now? We're not going to go after it. You try to go down that 45-degree incline and we're liable to trip and fall. And what are we going to do if we find it anyway? Tie it up and take it home? Can't do that.
Right.
So, well, at least we saw something at the Nickel Cemetery. We had went all over the place over there in Kentucky during the other days, looking around. And on the way out, it's like he's saying goodbye, get out of here. Don't let the entry chain hit you in the butt on the way out. Just get out. You guys been looking for me. Well, here I am. Come on and get me. It was weird. But let me back up to the Welcome Center, the Unwelcome Center, where they sell souvenirs, shirts and cups and this and that. Not one Dogman shirt in that Kentucky Welcome Center. Not one Dogman anything. So DA decides to ask one of the guys there about Dogman and the legend and everything. And the guy just poo-pooed him and just walked away. I went up to this older lady. She looked to me to be about 60. She was, being pleasant enough with everybody, selling stuff. I had a couple things in my hand I was going to buy. And I said, by the way, man, before I buy these things, you heard anything about a cryptid in this area here in the park called the Dogman? Oh my God, her face went from a pleasant welcome to a drop. And she just walked away from me. Didn't even say a word. Didn't even help me purchase the shirt and the rest of the stuff I was there to purchase. I had to wait for somebody else to come over later on. She didn't want to talk about it. It was simply amazing. And oh, by the way, Chris, in the town, DA had went up to two different business owners at two different businesses and struck up a conversation about the Dogman. They didn't want to hear nothing about it. Absolutely nothing about it. It was, it was like unwelcome. The last day I was there, I was getting gas across the street right next to the Waffle House. And I saw two hunters in hunting gear. And I figure, what the heck? Let me ask them about it, because everybody else I talked to about it just walked away. Walked away. Didn't even say, I don't want to talk about it. Just walked away. I mean, come on, that's rude. Kentucky? Seriously? People are supposed to be nice and friendly down there. It's not like New York City. Hey, how you doing there? And suddenly they pull a gun out on you or a knife and say, get away from me. Not in Kentucky. Boy, I mentioned Dogman. DA mentions it. But DA went to a couple places. He mentioned Dogman, and I don't want to know nothing about it. So anyway, I went across the street near the Waffle House. I already had breakfast. I was gassing up my vehicle. And I see these two hunters dressed in camo, and they had bows. And I asked them about it. And they kind of begrudgingly told me a couple of things. They said, basically, it's not safe in LBL at nighttime, so don't go in there. And the people around here don't want to talk about it, and they wouldn't tell me why. So there's my one fun time in Kentucky LBL. However, if you want to hear about my time in Tennessee LBL, that was much more productive. I went down there with a couple of specifics in mind, and people were very friendly over there. And the people that knew about it, they got it from their mom and dad. And these people were like in their late 40s. There was a little like cafe luncheonette place where the police used to go, going back years and years ago, back into the 70s and 80s and everything.
Right.
And this one lady that ran the place, she had her daughter working with her. Her daughter was like maybe 9 years old at the time. She's passed away, by the way. Her daughter now runs that little luncheonette. But I specifically went to that little luncheonette, and I know it's the one in the story that everybody tells, because it still has that bench, that certain type of bench that they describe. And I'm not going to describe it because I don't want people out there to, try to phony baloney it and act like they know what they're doing. There's certain things about this bench that's in front of the little luncheonette that you kind of have to go there and see it to know about it. I'll tell you later on off the air. Anyway, I went there and I got to talk to that young lady who is now older. She was 9 at the time, and she's much older. Her mom had passed, but she did hear some of the stuff, asked her mother about it. And years later, her mother told her the whole story. She was talking to two of the sheriff's officers that went to the scene of the crime, you might as well call it, the killing of those people in the early 80s. And she told me about it. She said those two sheriff's officers came back and told her mom what they saw, and they said it was horrible. Right. They said it was 4 people. They were towing a sleeper type of I don't know what you would call that thing. Camper type of thing. Yeah, it wasn't a mobile home. It was just a camper that you hook up to it.
Pop-up one.
Yeah, and they said I mean, they were both sick to their stomachs. They would come there every morning at 5:30 for coffee and cake and egg sandwiches and stuff. Well, this morning they only wanted coffee, and they spoke to this lady's mom and told her this. My God, it was horrible, absolutely horrible. And she says she remembers her mother asking the sheriff's officers, well, "What happened? Was it a big bear that tore him up?" And the guy said, "Well, the one guy had his arm torn off. Whatever it was got into the camper, and there was like slash marks inside the camper. The mother must have put up a fight. The little boy was killed, and the other guy threw up. And he walked away and he threw up when he was telling the mom about what he saw, because he was the one that walked into the forest area to look around, and drippings were coming from a tree, and the little girl was in the tree, dead." So just from what I know about zoology, from what I know about animals, that looked like to me like, yeah, the bear could have torn the guy's arm off, but the bear would have been too big to get into that trailer because it was a small, like round type thing, just a sleeper. And that's one thing. And then a bear wouldn't carry its prey, the little girl, up into a tree. A mountain lion would do that. But the mountain lion wouldn't tear the guy's arm off. He would rip his neck apart and then rip him open, to eat the innards. And sure, that mountain lion could fit in that camper, but it wouldn't do the arm, and and the claw marks were they were wide apart. Let me put it to you that way. You know how a black bear, it's like this. All right. Well, it was like wide claw marks on the walls. So the mom put up a fight. Evidently a low caliber, was it a 420 shotgun?
Yeah.
Was discharged.
410.
A 410 was discharged. The detectives that came there, they took the rifle. It was just a nasty scene, and these two guys were like taken back by what happened there. They were just like sick to their stomachs. I don't believe either one of them is still alive today. Those sheriff's officers, because they were in their early 30s.
No, they're not. They passed away. I looked many years ago.
Right.
But it's interesting because as more time has gone by, there's more cover up, and the younger generation doesn't know anything about it because everybody they don't want nothing to do with it.
Well, also they parked in a specific area, and this area was meant to plug in your electricity because they had like these concrete squares in the ground with electricity coming out that you could plug in, and they had some water areas over there and everything. All that, there's a berm over there now. You'd have to walk to it. They closed the road to get to it, so you'd have to walk to it. And once you get to it, you're not going to really see it because it looks like I got some geospatial maps from back in that time, the early 80s. And then I got some maps nowadays, what it looks like. Anybody could do that nowadays with Google Earth and just zoom in. And there's a couple other really good apps out there, but they're for pay. You got to pay for these things, and they can really zoom in. But what I'm trying to get at, Chris, is that they planted trees to hide it. And they didn't just plant it in a straight road. That would be too obvious. They planted it, and then they planted other ones in front of it, and then more in front. I mean, this was a major project, Chris. Major project. And pushing a berm over there, you've been there, right? What do you think that thing, how high it is? About 2.5 feet?
Yeah, that's what I was telling everybody before you got on, is how they altered the area and the scene and how they're blocking off parts of the park now so you don't go back there.
Yeah.
And they're not maintaining it.
Yeah.
That's what's strange.
Oh, they don't want to maintain it. They want all the wild grass to grow and the weeds. The more the merrier to keep people from going in there. Some of the weeds they got there are really, I don't know, my foot got entangled in one of them and I couldn't even rip my foot out. I had to back up and physically take it off of my foot, it was like, wow, this is really, they're really trying to hide something. And, they took out most of those concrete electrical posts that they had in the ground. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff missing. And it was a cover up. It was. And I'd like to ask you, why? Why are you covering up, people?
It goes to show that, and one thing I want to ask you when we come right back is about the Amazon driver.
Mm-hmm.
I know DA likes to talk about that sometimes. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have Nick Valente with us. Welcome back, Nick.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
So the Amazon driver, remember that incident?
Well, let me ask you, what did he tell you about it? Because there's certain things that we weren't going to talk about.
Well, we'll leave that away then. We'll go back to LBL.
Okie doke.
Yeah, I can pick that up real quick. But so there's a couple of questions. Is that, does the government do this as a cover up? Is what Yolanda wants to know.
You know what? Anytime I've in my former career, anytime I've had to investigate something, whether it be in the military or in the police career, you always look for something that 95% of the time is going to be a clear path, and that's follow the money. Okay, and what would money have to do with people getting killed in a park? Well, the government has to give certain amount of money to all the national parks, and they also help the state parks throughout the entire country. Every year they give out money to them. If they decide that, hey, we're not going to support this park anymore, that park goes down really fast. There's no more trash being picked up. There's no water supplied for the water fountains. There's no, people doing barbecues, camping, campouts, and the like. And the town suffers that the park is in because, people are going to spend money outside the park. So it's all about the money. They don't want to stop people from coming in the park. In all seriousness, if you knew there was a bloody murder of 4 people in a house, and then you've got a real estate agent, and she says, I want to show you this house. It's on the market for $55,000. You're like, what? This thing's worth $300,000. Oh, no, quick sale. You're looking around. Well, what's wrong with this house? A lot of people don't want to buy a house where people have been murdered in for various reasons,
That is correct.
So people are not going to want to come to that park. They're not going to want to have their kids playing around in the park. And that's it, and sooner or later, the government's going to notice how many people are in there, what the park's doing in revenues and this and that and the other thing. And they're going to cut them off. And then that park is gone. There's a lot of parks throughout this nation, national and state parks, that are really no longer in use, and they're all overgrown. So that's it. Follow the money. I think that's why the government wanted to keep it quiet, basically.
What's very interesting, I find out, is that, when you talk to local hunters, and I've heard this before with other investigators, they won't say much about the incidents, but they will tell you, do not go into the woods at night. It is not safe.
Right.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to tell Grizzly that twice. Once is good enough, okay? Because we know that things exist that should not exist. We was talking about this before you got on the show. And the person I talked to about a lot of times, referencing you before you were on the show, is about some of the things that you have done in your investigations and how you all investigate, how well organized your team is, and so forth. It's very, incredible to see how you all operate. And I told you that from day one. It really is. It's very well laid out. It's very planned, and it's very organized. And LBL depends on what state you go to. Mm-hmm. There are always a lot of people going down there to investigate what I was explaining before you got on. And they come back, they're like, man, something is not right. There is something down there, and I'm not going back. because it's not adding up. Then you got the die hard ones like you and D.A. and everybody else that go in there, and I'm like, man, you all some brave souls. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because they do not keep track of missing people, and I always wonder why.
No.
And I've asked that question before, and they will never answer.
Yeah. I mean, if you look for a person and you go through the Freedom of Information Act, you're going to get the information, but redacted, heavily redacted. So, they're just going to try to keep it quiet because, look, you go to a say government information service and you get the 6 deaths that occurred between X time and X time in LBL, Tennessee. And they give you the reports unredacted, say, okay, we're just doing a hypothetical here. You get them, you're reading them, and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going there again. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the newspaper and ask them about it. I'm going to show them these reports. What's the newspaper going to do? They're going to publish this. Wow, we couldn't get these reports back then. Any good reporter is going to go back in history and their documents that they have in their newspaper reports and say, oh, John Doe, yeah, he was found, but there wasn't any information given on that. It was just dead-ended. And this family that was killed there, there's nothing going on. And oh yeah, I've been there with my, one lady's reporter. I've been there with my husband, and we can't find that trailer park they're talking about. Of course you can't. It's too far in, and they bermed it up, and they put trees, and it's all overgrown. No, it's all about the money, Chris. And in all honesty, tell people you can't go into the water at the Jersey Shore in Belmar because there are great white sharks out there, and I'm going to tell you, nobody's going to go.
That is correct.
Every time they come out with a shark movie, the shore suffers. And God forbid they say, oh, it's at New Jersey, and we saw a megalodon and its family out off the Belmar coast in New Jersey. Oh, I don't think anybody's going to go there. No, they're not, until they forget about it in a year, maybe 2. But all the people that live down there, the businesses will suffer. So what are we doing? We're balancing people's lives versus people that suffer. On another show that I did, they asked me, what about this missing 411 stuff? How much you think is real missing or cryptids or whatever? And, I told them, I says, you know what? I'm really betting on 40% of it is cryptid, because if it was animals, bears, mountain lions, coyotes, wolves, if it was animals, why are the boots and the clothes not found? Why isn't the hunter's gun found? He was reported missing. He had a large firearm and he had a pistol. What's going on? A bear is not going to eat that. Nature will claim its own. That's why you generally don't find bear bones, because, as you know, deer will even eat bones that it finds in the woods. People think deer only eat, leaves and grass. No. Their bodies know that they need calcium and other minerals, and they see bones, they're going to eat it. Buzzards are going to be out there. I mean, all kinds of other second and third level predators are going to be out there, eating that up, but they're not going to eat the clothes. They're not going to eat the guy's boots. Okay. So there's your animal explanation. Kidnapping, that's kind of rough. You got to really have more than one person to kidnap somebody. And I'm talking about, this human slavery stuff that they have going on these days, which is pretty prevalent and in the United States too. One of the worst states for human trafficking is the state of Idaho. Very bad. Very bad. And why, Chris? Because Idaho goes up to Canada, and there are areas where you can cross that you can avoid the border patrol. And what do you do once you're up there? You go west. You hit a boat and boom, you go over to the Arabic countries, and the person's never seen again. But once, like I said, it's going to take more than one person to kidnap somebody. Now, you have the case where, the person commits suicide, or they fell into a hole, into a cave, they drowned in the water. We have cadaver dogs that are so well trained, they're going to pick up the blood scent. They're going to pick them up. Because, if your relative is missing, you're going to make sure you got clothes, dirty clothes from the hamper, so that dog can smell them. And I'm going to tell you, they're really good. I have worked with these tracking dogs. Belgian Malinois. I'm going to tell you, they're some of the best tracking dogs in the world. And I worked with one that never missed, 100 out of 100. Okay. You put those clothes there, bam, he's on it and he finds you. Now people say, if they drowned and they went under the water, they have cadaver dogs that can smell you when you're in the water.
Yes.
So they're going to take the dogs there. The bubbles come up to the top, plus you're polluting the stream because you're in the water. So what does it leave me? It leaves me with a 40 percentile mark from the cases that I've read, the reports I've read, and a few were people that, people have sent in to me, cryptid, Dogman, Sasquatch, what have you out there. A 10-foot Sasquatch is going to be able to lift you up, and that's it. You're not going to do a darn thing. I mean, these things are mega strong. They're big. And same thing with a Dogman. One swipe, bam, they've got you in that claw over the shoulder. They've taken you away. You're not going to see hide nor hair of you. Nothing. So that's a 40 percentile for missing people, that I think anyway.
So Thomas says, what about dogs that refuse to track? So anytime that they have cadaver dogs, whether they're for land or for water, they use more than one.
Right.
And that's not only to validate, it also is to validate they got a secondary hit, right?
Right.
I've never seen a tracking dog coward or get scared or anything like that. It goes up against anything. Now, does that happen? I don't know.
I haven't heard of that or seen that myself. I've seen dogs back down. I know of one hunter who had I hate to say this, who had a big male Rottweiler, 155-pound Rottie, that he took into the woods with him, and they came across a giant bear, a brown bear, and that Rottie kind of cowed and didn't want to go near that. He wanted out of there. He wasn't barking or growling. Now, I had a Rottie, and it's passed now, but we've been in the woods, and I don't care what was out there. It would stand its ground and protect me to the death. Now, when you're talking about dogs, by the way, you're correct, Chris. They have more than one dog. I mean, I know some places don't, but sooner or later they bring in more dogs. And when you get 3, 4, 5 dogs together, those dogs, they have a feeling of the pack environment. So they get much braver. Even if they're afraid for some reason, when you got the pack environment with those searching dogs over there, they will go and search it out. Especially with more than one dog. Even 2 dogs, even having 2 dogs together, they know they got backup. They think like humans, and they will go in there and oversearch. I haven't heard that where they're cowering. Not at all.
Now, I've heard of normal canines out with regular people in woods cowering, yes, but not search or cadaver dogs, no.
They're too well trained. I'm going to tell you, the one Belgian Malinois that I worked with that I'm really high on, this dog, they spent something like $75,000 total between buying the dog and training the dog. And there's nothing. This dog was like another human. I'm telling you, this dog was absolutely like another human. It told you when it had to go out. It told you when it was hungry. It told you if there was something wrong. I mean, you knew. So, I mean, they're extremely, extremely smart dogs, and they listen. You know, you tell them plots, bam, they're laying down. You know, you point, and that's your signal to attack. They're like a hair missile. They're on that person right for the throat. So, I mean, I have never heard of a real tracking dog backing down. You know, maybe this person may have come across somebody's pet that they took out with, you know, a cop took it with him, you know, on a search or something, but that's not what you want to do, you know, because your everyday dog doesn't really realize why he's out there. You have to be trained.
So what do you think overall about Dogman? What is your personal opinion of it?
Well, it's expanded. It's expanded over the years. I mean, since I had my encounter, mind you, there's sightings and there's encounters. A sighting is when you're driving down a road and Dogman goes from this cornfield to the next cornfield on two legs, bipedal. And you're like, holy crow, what is that? An encounter is when, like I had with this one couple in Pennsylvania, they're driving down this one certain road up on top of the Pocono areas, and the Dogman is running beside the car, and the wife's telling the husband, honey. And he looks over and and the Dogman scratched their car. You know, so that's an encounter. Mine was an encounter. I pulled up on it eating a deer, you know, portion of a deer. I was like 30 some odd feet away and I lit it up. So, I mean, that's an encounter. But when I first saw it, I didn't know what it was, Chris. I did not know what a Dogman was. It took me a while. I had to go check it all out. And, you know, I thought it was just a giant werewolf. You know, it just looked weird to me. But as I researched it and checked it out, the name Dogman kept appearing and appearing and appearing. And I started speaking with people about it, and they told me what it was. Now, I think it is flesh and blood, but we have to understand that in quantum physics, the physicists have shown us that there are 11 other dimensions out there besides ours.
Correct. Yes.
So leads me to believe, you know, like where they say where the footprint ends with Sasquatch, he's walking in the field and then suddenly no more footprints. People see a Dogman and suddenly he's disappeared. It's possible. This is where my brain is going now. It's highly possible that they have a different energy than we do. Actually, I think they do have a different energy than we do. They can hear and see better than we can. We can only see 10% of the light spectrum. I'm betting they can see more. And because of the energy that they put off and that they have, they are possibly using portals. Because you can't have a giant Sasquatch 10 feet tall leaving footprints and then suddenly in the middle of a field disappear. It's basically impossible. Where did he go? Two places, okay, in my mind. He's either alien or from another dimension. So he's going through a portal because of the energy that they have. Now, if he's alien, maybe he's got a spacecraft up there and they beam him up, you know, like in Star Trek. It's not beyond the realm of belief, in all honesty, Chris, because where the heck did this giant creature go? If it did have a cloaking ability, oh, there we go, Norma. If he did have a cloaking ability, he's still going to leave footprints. You know, I could turn invisible, but I'm still going to leave footprints. If I turn invisible and you have the peace of mind to throw a can of white paint on me, you're going to make me visible, you know, and you're going to see footprints. These things are heavy. According to a lot of people, these things are extremely heavy. I mean, a 10 foot tall Bigfoot with like 4 or 5 foot shoulder span. Come on, something like that's got to be like 1,200, 1,500 pounds. They're going to put an indent in the earth. They suddenly disappear. So it's either up or into another dimension. That's my thoughts on it. I think they are solid and flesh and blood while they're here, because by this time it's thousands of reports that I've taken, and people have reported seeing them eating deer pieces or rabbit. One hunter reported seeing a dogman eating a wild boar over in Oklahoma where he was hunting. So, I mean, why do they have to eat? And my own experience, Chris, the dogman that I had encountered, it ignored me, totally ignored me. All right. It didn't mind speak. It didn't do anything like that to me. It just ignored me, didn't look at me. And I was lighting it up with a 500,000 candle power of light. And it just continued eating. It was about 1 minute and 10 seconds total. And then it walked off. But I heard it step on the leaves and the branches. I smelled it. I could smell it. I know the difference between what a dead deer or what a dead bear smells like. I've been out there in the woods for a long, long time, many decades now. And I know what these things smell like. And this thing had the smell of blood and urine. I mean, it was nasty, a nasty smell. But it made noise. It smelled. It was eating. To me, flesh and blood. Now, something I've mentioned on other shows, when it walked off, it went into the wooded area, and I got back into my vehicle because I thought it was trying to circle around me. And I saw about 120, 140 feet away in the sky, a orb, a white light type orb. Now, was it using an interdimensional portal, or was that a spacecraft that it may have gotten on? I don't know, because I didn't follow it in the woods. It was kind of dark, and I couldn't bring my car in there. It was just wooded area. So I leave that open for everybody to think about, to keep an open mind. You got to think outside the box.
So when you saw that, what was going through your mind?
The reason I stopped in the first place was because it was next to a stop sign, and the post was an 8-foot post, and the stop sign was maybe an inch from the top of the post, because there's a lot of bushes in the area. So I guess they had to put it up high. I saw a bicycle, looks like a child's bicycle, next to it, because there was a reflector on the back of the bicycle. And it was 11:30 at night, Chris. I'm like, what the heck? Why is there a bicycle, and why is there a large black, I thought it was a large black bear next to the bicycle. I'm thinking it was a child or maybe a female. And there's this large black bear. And I don't run from the fire. I go towards it. I've always done that my whole life. I'm not going to back down. So when I lit it up, I got out with bear spray in my left hand, a 10mm Glock in the right. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's in its claw, right claw, it had a piece of deer. It wasn't human. So evidently, somebody must have chained the bicycle up to this post, the stop sign post, and left for the day or forgot it, did something. I don't know. All I know is that this thing was near it, and I thought there was a human there, so I stopped. And it did look like a bear. And as I got closer and closer, that was no bear. It had a wolf-like face with a snout, had the ears, and this thing, I went back the next day with a full team. We were totally jocked up. I wasn't going back by myself, not if we were going to go into the woods. And we measured it. This thing was 7 feet, 7 inches tall, to where my eye saw the top of its head, on the stop sign area.
Wow.
So we ran a tape measure up. So 7.7. So it's just like, what is this thing? And it took me a while to find out, but I did. Thank God for the internet, because I couldn't find anything in the library about it. I'll tell you that much.
No, you're absolutely right. When people come to you and talk to you about their encounters, I mean, what do you see in their eyes and in their tone of voice?
Well, I generally like to see their eyes. I will be talking to them like you and I are talking to them. I have my video cam set up, and I want to talk to them first, face to face. I want to look at them while I'm interviewing them. It's actually more of an interview and interrogation because I want to make sure somebody's not pulling my leg.
Right.
Cryptozoology has enough problems trying to, be viable out there without having people out there BS, and run you on a wild goose chase. Because after all, Chris, I've taken teams out to Arkansas, 7-man teams. I've taken teams out to Oklahoma. It costs money to do that. All right. And, you just don't go out on a wild goose chase. So when I'm speaking with these people, excuse me a second.
No, absolutely.
When I speak to people, I ask them if we can get on the webcam and I want to talk to them about their experience. I listen to them first. Then I start asking them little questions because I want to hear what they have to say. And a lot of times, I'll put it out there for your audience. My big one is I listen to hear if they tell me of a smell. A lot of times I don't hear that. If they're close enough, there has to be something of a smell. So, long story short, I'll watch their eyes. I'll watch which way the eyeballs are going. I'll listen to their story. I'll ask them the same question in 3 or 4 different ways. Because if it's a viable thing where I could actually get a team to go out there to check it out, I want to do it. And I don't care if it's, 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. I'd rather go out there at nighttime because that's when strange things happen. That's the best time. I mean, I kind of figure like this. The predators are basically in a burrow or a cave. They're sleeping during the day. At nighttime, they come out to hunt. And, I always look for areas where there's water because everything's going to need water. Everything needs food. But the number one thing is shelter. So there's your 3 big things. But anyway, I try to interview people. We had one of my investigators up in Moscow, Maine, going back a few years ago. He had a neighbor who lived 3 houses away from him come over to him in a huff and like he was scared. He had tears. 17-year-old guy. He told him, a dogman, a wolf creature on 2 legs looked in my kitchen window. He had my investigator over there in Maine going for 3 days. He had him going. Finally, the kid had his friends over and they're all busting out laughing. Oh, we were just pulling your leg, man. We were just joking. Yeah, I can't afford to have that happen to me. I can't, absolutely not, because too much money goes into it. Too much time is spent, trying to find these things and trying to find, information out about them, trying to find things like footprints, claw marks on trees. I mean, when we go to an area and they said, that's where we saw it, we check every tree out. I have one guy who's an excellent climber. I have him climb up the tree, try to find claw marks. So, I mean, it's a big endeavor when we do this. And like I said, if it's a real serious one, I bring out the 7-man team.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, ladies and gentlemen, how he operates and how the team works. So how do people get a hold of you and follow you and keep up with all your investigations and research and information?
Well, the best way for information and stuff is, and currently I have about 7, I don't want to call them stories, 7 reports that we are just finishing up now that I haven't even posted yet. But if they go to the International Dogman Project -USA or to any of the other ones, International Dogman Project Southwest, IDP Southeast, Northeast, Central, Nordic countries, I'll even post it there. I'll post what we found. I have 3 field investigations that we're just trying to clear up now. I'm just trying to see if the people will allow me to describe the area and to post the pictures that I took in New Jersey, Lambertville, New Jersey. They allowed me to say that much. It's right across from New Hope, Pennsylvania. There's a river that divides the two, but there was a dog man seen there. A lady had her small dog taken from her backyard. She let the little pooch out to go pee, and she heard a yelp, and that was the end of that. She saw something large going down towards the water. She got in contact with us. I interviewed her. Unfortunately, it took a few days. I didn't have the full team, but we went there during the daytime because I wanted to see down by the water. There was 4 of us. I wanted to see down by the water if we could find any prints, and we found prints. On one tree, we found slash marks. And once again, Chris, not small bare ones. These were wide on the tree. Now, because I published information about that in the International Dogman Project USA, I had one of the members who actually lives across the river in New Hope. He fishes that river. He's come across with a couple of people that have had Dogman sightings, not encounters. So you see how this snowballs. You publish something, and now this guy's coming out with it. He was afraid before. He was afraid before to come out with it. But he's seeing how open I'm being about it and how 100% I'm putting out the information. And the guy felt calmer about it. And he was giving me information. But I'm going to tell you, he told me he's not going down there fishing anymore. After he got a couple of reports from some neighbors that did see a bipedal wolf-like creature that was extremely massive down by the river. But like I said, what's in a river? Water. What else? Fish, food. Okay. So why wouldn't a Dogman be down there? Why wouldn't a Sasquatch be down there? We didn't get any Sasquatch reports, but anyway, to fully answer your question, they can contact me on Facebook. That's the name you have up there. They can just look it up and they'll see, that I'm on Facebook. I answer everybody personally. If you contact me, I answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, he does.
I'm not going to, play around. If you have information or you need information about how to do stuff, I will give you the good and the bad, because people will just, some people scare me, Chris. I got this one guy from Canada who I no longer talk to, but not because I don't want to. He was a heavy boots on the ground investigator, but here's what he did. He would take his cell phone with the flashlight on his cell phone, a bottle of water with him, and a little snack candy like a Babe Ruth or something, or a Snickers bar, and he would go and investigate all these old abandoned buildings. And I begged him not to do that by himself. And we used to talk 3 to 4 times a week on the Facebook page. Sometimes he would call me, and we wouldn't do video, but we would do audio. And a lot of times we'd be writing back and forth together. Suddenly, I didn't hear from him anymore. I told him, I said, you got to tell people you're going out there. So people, if you go out there, take precautions. You really need to be able to protect yourself, not only from a cryptid, but from a known animal. Don't think that a mountain lion is going to leave you to go on your merry way if you're near its cubs, or a bear the same way. Coyote will attack humans, right, Chris? Come on. Coyotes, they're in a pack of 3, 4, 5. They're going to come after you. You might be able to scare away one, but not when they're in a pack. They are going to come at you. And what are you going to do when you do find Sasquatch or Dogman when you're out there? Tell me, what is your game plan, people? Have a plan. That's why I beg people, tell people where you're going. Get a GPS finder unit to put on your collar, lock it on there. You got a little button you can press if you need help. Take several flashlights, take several people with you.
Button on the side.
Oh, look at that.
Text.
Look what he's got.
So, so no matter where I'm at, cell phone service or not, I can make or hit a little button and I can get the cavalry coming. So
that's absolutely it. That's one of them. And they have so many of them out there. They have the Garmin Mini 2, which is what we all went to now, the Garmin Mini 2. The Mini 1 is still good, but there's some advantages to having the Garmin Mini 2, which is why my company went over to getting those and we traded them in. So people, there's a lot of Garmin Mini 1s out there. If you look around, I don't know where they're selling them on, but they're selling them for like 1/3 the price. that we bought them for. But yeah, and you really should have bear spray. Everybody that in your party that's going out there, I would recommend 3 people minimum going out there. And please, people, don't look at your cell phone while you're out there. Take 2 or 3 flashlights each. If you're going to be out there at nighttime, stay together in like a triangle formation. Look out for each other. Look up. Besides looking down, you could be bit by a snake. So make sure you wear boots and gaiters. You got to really take care when you're going out there, because it's not just a cryptid that you have to watch out for. It's your regular animals, your regular insects, ticks. I don't know how the ticks are by you, Chris, but I got a buddy in West Virginia right now that's freaking out because went out in the garden, put duct tape, all over the sleeves and on the boots and the pants area, put it backwards, the duct tape. And I'm going to tell you, there was like 3 dozen ticks stuck to that duct tape.
Yes.
It's pretty bad. I mean, so ticks can get you. Hornets can get you. There's just so much out there that can get you. Not that you can't enjoy your time, but I mean, if you're a serious boots on the ground field investigator, you have to know all this stuff. I mean, I spray myself down with this special spray that we get, and it works. I mean, you can ask D.A. As soon as I sprayed him, the bugs just went away, because I forgot to spray him that day before we went out, over there in LBL, Kentucky. There's just so much to think about. And another tip I want to throw to everybody is know the area that you're going and use an old military trick. Get a pair of wide angle binoculars, say 7 by 35, 7 by 50. Scope the area out from your car before you go into the woods. You'd be amazed what you find. I had one of my members contact me on the telephone and said, I'm glad I listened to you. He was going to go in with his family and with his 2 brothers, right? He had 2 kids, his wife, his 2 brothers. They were going to go into this one area, Chris. He was scoping it out with the binoculars, and he saw a black bear. And with her were her cubs. And I don't mean little baby cubs. They were maybe teenagers at this point.
Oh, wow.
They could cause you a problem because they were carrying food with them too. So, I mean, it's possible they might cause you a problem. So he was glad he scoped it out. He goes, you know what? We'll go boating instead. So he took everybody down a couple of miles and they went boating instead. Yeah, you just got to watch out what you're doing, and you got to be careful, and you have to take certain precautions. Certain states you're allowed to carry firearms with you, then please do. Please do, along with the bear spray, though, because it really does work, Chris.
It does. Now, somebody asked me how much does mine cost. Mine costs roughly almost $1,000. Because of the cell phone and the texting, and it also sends out my GPS alert coordinates to any search and rescue party and the local authorities as well, to the central dispatch. So mine's top of the model, and plus it tracks all my movement and where I go and everything else. Right.
Well, the Garmin Mini 2, I'm talking about the more expensive one now. The Garmin Mini you can now get for about $200. The Garmin Mini 2 is more like $398. But that's a lot less than the one Chris has. And you can send text messages on it. It's going to hit all the satellites.
Right.
We do that. It's small, people. It's small. 4 inches. I mean, it's really small.
Mine's pretty huge. Mine's So to put in perspective, and of course I wouldn't have. Oh, there it is. That's an iPhone 14.
Yeah.
Put it in front of me. So it's actually about the same size, but it's a lot thicker.
Let me see. Let me give you well, you know what? Yours would be better to show, but this is about how big. Actually, it's even smaller than this. It's smaller than this. By this much. If you take away this, that's how big it is. So it's easy. And I I like the Garmin Mini 2 because of the additional features. You can text message people, hey, look, I need help. I'm at these coordinates. I'm here in the woods. Just walk in here. Or if somebody has a medical problem that has happened, they've gotten injured or something, you hit that orange button just like yours. Bam, they come right in at you. I mean, you don't have to have it, but you should have it. And mind you, when I'm talking about my team and I, when we go in, Chris, we go 6 miles, 12 miles into a forested area, and some of these areas, what are they? They're like 500,000 acres. Some are a million acres that we go into, and we're going in 12 miles in. Now, you better have the stamina in order to take your backpack with you and everything else to go in 12 and then to come out 12.
Right.
So it's a lot of things you got to think about when you're going on a field investigation. If you're only going in a mile, you still should take precautions because anything can happen any place. I'm sorry, anything.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. So, and you know me, I go overboard when it comes to doing certain things, and there's reasons why. I don't know if it's the law enforcement in me.
Yep.
But I always like extra protection and extra technology if it's available. But people need to understand what he's saying, and that's why I asked him to come on the show. Boots on the ground. He's got the experience. He's got the know-how. He's got the team, and he's been doing it, ladies and gentlemen, for a while. So,
I got to tell you, and my mantra is to prove or to disprove. And over the years, I've proven, at least to myself, what the different cryptids are, because I don't just do Dogman. I do Chupacabra, Jersey Devil, Sasquatch. I mean, you name it, whatever it is out there, you name it, I do it. As a matter of fact, if I could put a shameless plug in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every Wednesday, my two partners and I, Gary Spikes and Jeremiah Fountain, we just started a new show 2 weeks ago, and we do all the cryptids, the little talked about cryptids. We just did the Mongolian death worm yesterday. And we're going to talk about cryptids that people don't usually talk about. So every Wednesday we do that, and by Thursday, Friday, we're able to put the show out on the air. We're going to talk about all the ones that people don't even think about talking about. Basically.
That's awesome.
But there's my shameless plug for us. It's called the Cryptid Consortium. So if you could find it on YouTube. But what I wanted to tell you about I'm not going to BS people. I got called in early January to North Carolina, and we had, by the time I finished talking to all the people that saw this Dogman, it was well over a dozen people. But I spoke to the first 7, and that was enough to get a team to go down to North Carolina, right near a lake. There's a specific lake down there. And the first day we didn't find anything. Second day, we found tracks. The third day, during the daytime, we were at daytime and nighttime, day and night, mind you. And we had thermals on. And you wouldn't imagine what we would find in this place. The third day, during the daytime, we're coming up on this heavily bushy area, heavily growth area, and we hear a roar. Okay, we take a knee. We're in a diamond position. We take a knee. Hear the roar again. I tell the 2 guys at the top, take out the bear spray just in case. Let's see what we can do first before we light it up. Now, mind you, if this thing was going to attack, it would have gotten 7 .308 rifles firing at it, with 20-round clips. That's a lot of
Right.
firepower. We would have lit it up. But we want to go home, okay? We're allowed to go into the park areas and everything, but I'm also allowed to go home safely. That's how we feel. But anyway, the 2 guys at the front, they had the bear spray out. And, good. He saw the Ozark Howler. That was the first episode that we did. This creature's on 2 legs. and it's pretty tall. And we've got descriptions, this dog man here, this dog man there. This thing comes through the bushes at us, a chest-like growl. And I tell the guys, hit it with the bear spray. It was a black bear that was about 6 foot, 6 inches tall, about 700 pounds in my estimation. But here's the kicker, Chris. It had the big ears, like people say Dogman has. It had a snout that was about this long. It had an abnormally long snout for a black bear. You know, a black bear, generally the snout's about what?
Right.
6 inches or so.
Right.
This thing, I'm telling you, Chris, the snout, I didn't get to measure it or anything. I'm just looking by eye. But this snout was a good 18 inches long. So, of course, people are going to think, oh, it's a wolf. You know, it's a dog man. It's got to be. And it was, like I said, 6 foot 6 inches tall. Okay. Basically, black bear go 4'6" to about 6 feet tall. Okay. This thing was 700 pounds in my estimation. And it was like 6'6". And it came through and we hit it. Two different bear sprays hit it. I'm going to tell you, the thing dumped its nose into the grass, rubbed it, started running with its nose in the grass, and took off on all fours. It dropped from all twos to all four. I came back. I had to apologize to my people. I said, listen, I got to apologize to you folks. We didn't find a dog man. What we found was a black bear. Now, people are going to say, oh, a black bear in January? They should be hibernating. I went to the forest ranger people, and I told them what we saw. He goes, first of all, bears in North Carolina do not hibernate. Do not. I learned something, okay?
Right.
They don't hibernate. Second of all, he goes, back in the 90s, we had to put a bear out that was 900 pounds and about 6'9". It was way bigger. And people can look this up, too. In North Carolina, they had to put it out because this bear was just too much. It was going over to people who were having picnics during the daytime, chasing them away, stealing their food. I mean, it was a total menace, so they had to put him down. So he goes, your bear is a bit smaller than the one we put down in the 90s. So,
wow.
Like I said, Chris, prove or disprove. It sure as hell did look like a dog, man. You know, we could have posted pictures from a side view maybe and said, oh, yeah, we got a dog, man. No, it was a bear.
Yeah.
So you see, we try to give it to you like it is. We're not going to BS you. We see something, we're going to tell you what we report seeing.
No, and that's why I've always been interested and always backed you and talk highly of you and had you on the show before and always will have you on the show, especially with Jeremiah.
I appreciate it.
Because a lot of people don't realize that these sons of guns are real. They
Yes,
want to
sir.
think they're not. And I'm trying to tell people there are things that walk upon this earth, kind sir, that should not exist, but they do.
Look,
So, yeah.
if I didn't see it, I wouldn't have believed it. But I'm sorry. I don't care who out there. You're not going to tell me what I saw. I know what I saw. I have my buddy Gary Spikes. He had a Sasquatch come up to his truck 18 inches away from the driver window while he was sitting in the driver's seat. That affected him for years. My other partner, Jeremiah Fountain, his wife saw a dog man. He saw a dog man. They've seen Sasquatch while they're out there. He's big into the Sasquatch research. I mean, you can't tell him he didn't see what he did. What about the 3,600 people on the western coast of the United States between 95 and 2015 that reported Sasquatch sightings? I mean, seriously, they didn't go on television shows saying, I want to get my 5 minutes of fame. They just wanted to tell somebody. And Chris, like I can see you're thinking what I'm thinking right now, what I'm going to say. What about the people that didn't report their sightings because they were afraid?
Absolutely right.
So what do you think? Do you quadruple that amount, that 3,600? You know, I mean, how many people have seen these things and they're embarrassed? They don't want the townspeople that they live in, the city people they live with, or the police to make fun of them. You know, they're going up for in their job, they're going up for a raise over there to have another position. And the boss goes, "Are you nuts? I ain't going to put you in charge of my shipping department. You see Sasquatches running around your backyard." Well, excuse me. You know, I haven't been the only person that's seen it, Mr. Boss. There was years ago, there's a famous surgeon, plastic surgery surgeon in California. He was stopped by the police one day for speeding. He was headed home really quick because his wife said, "Get over here quick." They had a Sasquatch problem in their backyard. He had a 44 Magnum on his passenger seat. The cops dragged him out and said, "What's with the Magnum?" He says, "Here's my license to carry. It's in my car. I didn't brandish at anybody, but I'm on my way home because we have a problem there." You know, and this is a famous surgeon. I'm not going to give his name out because I don't know if he finally came out with the story, but, you know, stuff like this just can't be made up. Some of the things that they've seen. It's unbelievable, Chris.
It really is, ladies and gentlemen, and it happens quite a bit. And I always say, you know, when you hear people tell their stories or encounters, they have to get it off their chest because it's bothering that much. Nick, I had one guy, it took him over 30 years to tell his story about a Wendigo incident he had when he was younger trapping. And he finally came out, and it took him a while, and I got him to do a show on his own terms. And I was like, I cannot believe this guy's. I've never had a Wendigo guy or a person.
Right.
And he got his confidence up, and he was so emotional, and he was tearing up, and he was reliving it. And when he did the show, he was like, "Man, I feel so good." So then he went out into some of the groups, and people were talking about their encounters with cryptids. And he was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, guess what? Here's my incident." And they crucified him. "You did not have that. That does not exist." And it ruined him. Ruined him. He called me crying. He called me so upset and distraught. He didn't know what to think. He was like, "Why can they believe in Dogman and Bigfoot, but I get to tell my story just because they didn't see one, and they're going to hang me upside down and crucify me?"
Exactly. And people are unmerciful. I'm going to tell you, all my groups, we've got rules. And one of the rules is you will be respectful to the other members. And besides myself, I've got 4 other really super solid admins that read everybody's responses. And your response will be deleted. You'll get a message from me or one of them giving you one warning. After that, you're out of the group. All the groups, because we don't need that. It's hard enough in cryptozoology for people to want to come to you with a story. And, you know, when you see something, you want to report it. Look at the animals these days that exist, like the Komodo dragon and the panda bear, Chris. When they were first discovered, people were like, "What are you, out of your mind? There's no such thing." And then that one captain, the Navy captain, he had retired and he went over to Indonesia and he killed a couple Komodo dragons and he captured a few. He took it back to the United States, and suddenly we've got Komodo dragons now, and they're not cryptids anymore.
Right.
I'm waiting for the day where, there are different types of Sasquatch. I gotta say that there's at least 11 different types that I've known of. And some are mean, some are kind, some are just shy. They want to keep away from us. But I can't wait for the day where, we actually, okay, this is a Sasquatch. All right, people, it's on the news. Yes, they do exist.
Did you see that comment that left up there for you to read? Can you see it on your end?
That one right here, right now?
Yep.
Nope, they can't handle it because what's going to
So,
happen? Follow the money again. Are they going to go in the woods? Are they going to go to the parks? Nope.
and I'll be honest with you, and I've been very vocal about this, and I'll tell you right now, for everybody that's going to listen to the audio when it's uploaded tomorrow, if anybody that owns and runs a group and they get a hold of me and send me a message and tell me that little Johnny was acting up in their group, and little Johnny belongs to any of my groups, little Johnny will not belong to any of my groups. That's how we work together as a community, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
We will cut the branch that you sit on out from underneath you, so you do not tarnish or hurt anybody else. So
And
absolutely,
it's not just in his Sasquatch groups. It's for the Dogman groups too.
that is
If
correct.
we find out that you're a mean person, that's the nicest way I could talk about it. It goes from his groups to my groups to all the other groups. We make our rounds. We do know each other. Just be kind. Just be kind to these people because they know what they saw, and it's hard enough for them to believe it. And now you're trying to make fun of them. You're an adult. Why are you doing this now? You're not in grammar school anymore.
Right.
That's all I can say about it.
And I always tell people, you may not agree with somebody's stance and their views. That's fine. Scroll it. That's all you got to do.
Just go
Don't
by.
leave.
Just go by.
Don't leave emojis because I'll get you on that. Don't leave comments.
Yep.
Just scroll it. So they want to know, Nick, have you heard about the Victor Dogman research, paranormal research?
He's supposed to be a government agent. That's BS. I'm sorry. I'm going to call it for what it is. It's BS. I'm still connected with the United States government in certain ways, and I do know that for a fact. And some of the things this guy is supposedly reported to have done, I'm sorry. People, well, I'll throw this out at you here, Chris. This guy is supposed to have hunted down a dog man in an area, and it was like a teenage juvenile dog man, only maybe 6 foot tall. He put his hand down the guy's throat and ripped his tongue out. I call BS to that. I'm sorry. Have you people ever seen in real life a black bear? They're the small bears. Okay.
Right.
Have you ever seen a brown bear, an 8 foot tall brown bear? Seriously, go to a zoo and see these things. I'm sorry. It's going to be a heck of a lot harder to do what this guy supposedly did to a 6 foot tall dog man, putting his hand down his throat. You don't think he's going to get his arm ripped by his mouth and the teeth and the claws? These things are fast, people, and they're strong, even when they are teenagers. I'm sorry. People need to go to zoos and see what's out there, and then compare that to, some of the stories that they're hearing on these BS programs out there. I won't name them, but I'm sorry, they are.
I've seen 60-pound dogs tear somebody's arm apart, shred it.
Right.
And I'll leave it at that. So,
yeah.
And if a dog is attacking you, and I'm talking a canine, a pet dog, somebody's pet animal, you do not want to rip your arm out of its mouth. You want to try to keep it in there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I mean, you're not going to be brave enough to put your hand down its throat either. I'm sorry.
No.
Would you try to put your hand down a black bear's throat, even if it was only 5 feet tall?
Nope.
My God, those things are 10 times stronger than a human male. So it's like, I can't listen. I don't listen to those other ones. As a matter of fact, I don't allow their publication on any of my sites. All of my admins know that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I greatly appreciate you taking the time, sir, coming on the show. And
anytime. It was fun.
Schedule.
You've got you've got a great audience.
Yeah, they love you. They want you back. They're like, we gotta have
really?
you back. Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, they want you back. But Nick Valente, once again, what's the name of your show that you do?
Well, the show we do a couple of shows, but the most recent one is the cryptid. Oh God, how does he pronounce it? I'm sorry, Chris.
Does that to me all the time.
It's a 16-hour day today, and I got to go back in a couple hours. The Cryptid Consortium is the show that we do. That we do different cryptids, odd cryptids that you never hear about. We also do On the Trail, In Search Of, and that's on Sunday nights, but we don't publish it till Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, because we tape it and then they have the editing done and they'll put that out. But On the Trail, that's where Jeremiah and I will interview somebody. We've got Greg Yost coming up, Sasquatch Man, coming up this Sunday.
Yeah,
so that should
neck
be
of the woods.
Yeah, he is a good guy, really nice guy. Love Greg.
Just make sure and ask him to show you the tracks he casted last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, Greg was out with a bunch of people. This is going back early last year, and he was taking pictures, and he got, I think it's like 2 or 3 dogmen. Their heads came out in the pictures. He didn't realize it till he blew it up. You know, the 8x10, and he sent it to me, and I'm blowing these things up on a 65-inch screen. I'm like, Greg, you're out there looking for Sasquatch, and you got dogmen in back of you. You didn't even know it. Oh my God! Yeah. So that should be a good interview. I'm going to tell you right now.
It is. It's yeah. Everybody's got you got to tune in. This is the guy I've been talking about for the past 3 days. Is Greg Yost. Never done one with him.
Nope.
You really like him. But I really greatly appreciate you, sir, and we'll catch you on the flip side. And thank you again.
I appreciate it. And sorry for coming on late. I just got home from work and took a quick shower, got dressed, and I got to go back out again in a few hours.
Well, I appreciate it. I really
gonna
do,
grab
sir. Thank you.
Grab a little rest, and then I'm out of here.
All right, take care. Chris. We'll see you coast to coast around the world, ladies and gentlemen. It's a wrap. Take care. Godspeed. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Take care.
It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No. We're gonna watch and listen.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, shit, should we run?
No.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, should we run?
Okay. It's a grizzly.
Are you sure it's not a chipmunk? Action. No, I'm out of here. Action.
It's a grizzly.
I'm out of here.
Huh. Maybe it is a chipmunk. It's a grizzly.
Are we gonna die?
I don't know. We're just gonna sit here and listen and watch.
Let's get out of here, maybe.
Paul.